G'day guys, welcome to another edition of Aussie Boxing Talk. I'm your old mate Big J, and today we're going to discuss an interesting topic that's come to my attention the last 24 hours. Well, I wanted to be bringing this up for a couple of years now, but haven't had the chance. I was on Lyndon Hoskins' boxing deep dive preview for Tim Tszyu and Joey Spencer last night, along with the great man himself, Lyndon Hoskins, of course the chump, Jay McAllister. And it got me thinking because he said, I said something that was probably going to upset Tim Tszyu fans out there. And I remember, I've spoken about this before, I've never actually done it on video, is that, in my opinion, I think there are three types of fans of boxing. They fall into three categories. And today I wanted to break all three down and give the pros and cons of each one. So we've got the first one, which are fans of boxers. So these fans particularly only follow one or two boxers, like Tim Tszyu fans, George Kambosos fans, and back in the day, which is probably more prevalent, Anthony Mundine or Danny Green fans. Unfortunately, in Australian boxing these days, we don't have that massive rivalry where one boxer's got just as many fans as the other. So, a lesser extent, probably the Tim Tszyu and the Jeff Horn fans, but nothing as big as Green and Mundine. And I don't think there will be again for a long time. So you've got those sort of fans are fans of the boxers. You've got national boxing fans who are fans of the boxing but really only stick to their country. Countrymen or women, like they'll follow pretty much anything, but they're only interested in boxing from their country. And the media obviously falls into this category. More so fans of boxers than actual boxing. The media can fall into. And then, of course, you've got your hardcore fans, which are fans of boxing, where they're very knowledgeable. They pretty much know everything, and they'll follow anyone or anything. They're students of the game. So we'll get into the fan of the boxers. Now, these are the guys that you need to keep the happiest, because they're the ones that pay the bills. Probably 70% of revenue, maybe even on 80%, is from fans of boxers, the casual boxing fan. They're the ones that pay the electricity bill. They're the ones you make all the profit from. They're the ones that will pay $70 for a fight card that's not worth $15. All right. They're the ones you need to keep happy. They're like a revolving door. They'll come and go all the time. They're bandwagon jumpers because they're fans of boxers, right? They're not fans of boxing. They're like bandwagon jumpers for a football team. Yeah, they'll keep waving the flag and all that while they're winning the premierships. But the second they lose, they're off the bandwagon. They don't care. And that's what happened to Tim after, not so much the Fandora fight, but certainly the Buckram versus Aliyev fight, where Tim lost a lot of fans because he got beaten in 3 rounds. And those fans are the ones that, the fans that will praise Tim Tszyu's name, I'll just use Tim Tszyu, fans will praise a boxer's name while they're winning, are the first ones that kick him in the guts while they're down when they're losing, or when they lose. Right, those fans are the ones that will chuck the hat down, take the shirt off, rip the poster in half, or sell it on eBay for some exuberant amount of money. And they're only fans of boxers, and they're very, very unloyal. Right, but they're the ones you need to keep happiest because they're the ones that will pay the exuberant amount of money for the tickets and for the pay-per-views. So why they're the fans that promoters and all that need the most are also the fans that boxing doesn't need, because they're novelty fans. They'll pay to see a 40-year-old retired football player fight, I don't know, another 40-year-old retired football player. So they're the ones that love the novelty. They don't really care. I suppose boxing fans of Australian boxing would fall into that category because Australians love a novelty. Right, now the Australian boxing fans or national boxing fans, doesn't matter what country you're from, USA, Mexico, Japan, England, they will follow people, men and women from their country. So, and they can go into the amateurs, like if the Olympics is on or the Commonwealth Games is on or the amateurs are on, they will follow that, right? They're fans of that nation's boxing, right? They're not hardcore fans, but they're certainly very knowledgeable and well read about boxers from their country, and boxers from their country. So they're not really interested in internationals. They'll only know the international fighters, if they're fighting an Australian opponent or their country of origin's opponent, say if like Tim Tszju's fighting Joey Spencer, like they'll know a lot about Tim Tszju, but not too much about Joey Spencer, but they will go and research and find out as much as they can about him, right, before he fights. All right? So these fans are very knowledgeable, very respectful. I wouldn't say they're bandwagon jumpers. They can be neutral. They're not fans of boxing. They're fan of a certain... But one thing they aren't interested in is any boxer from any other country. They're not really interested in boxers from other countries. Right? They're only interested in boxers from their own country. Right? And they're a very small fan base because... Yeah, which leads me into the next one, which is the hardcore fans. Hardcore fans know everything. They research everything. They've got every tape. They know their stuff. They're on BoxRec daily, looking up guys' records. If someone has they know about fights that are getting announced 3 months before they get announced because they've got their ear to the ground. All right? Excuse me. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. So these guys have their ears to the ground. They know everything inside and out. They're students of the game because they've either been boxers themselves, they've been promoters, judges, referees, ring guys, ring announcers, even the production staff, the guys that do all the stuff in the production truck that actually get the show on the screen. These guys are very, very knowledgeable. They are they know everything and they're neutral. They don't really follow any one particular boxer. They follow boxing, right? They'll certainly have their ones that they really want to look at, but you'll see them at a grassroots show, and then next week you'll see them at the big world title fight. So they just love their boxing. They're very passionate, they're very knowledgeable, and they speak fact. They don't speak with emotion, they speak fact. Right? These guys are the best sort of fans to be around to have a conversation with. They're just not some bloodthirsty, casual that just wants to see someone get their head kicked in. Right? They have a profound respect for boxing, a profound respect for the sport and everyone involved. And they know a lot about everyone. They know everyone from who the ring announcer is to, I wouldn't go as far as who the ring girls are, but, who the ring announcer is, who the judges are, who's fighting where and when. They've got the schedules all printed out. They follow it pretty deeply, right? And they're a student of the game. They're on BoxRec every day looking up guys' records. They're talking about fights from 40 years ago. They're debating whether Kostas could beat Crawford at 140, those sort of fans. They are they're passionate students of the game, and they just love boxing because they've probably been in it since the time that they could tie their own shoelaces. They've been around it since they were 5-6 years old, maybe even younger. So those are the sort of fans that boxing relies on, but as a business sense, it's the casuals that you generate your revenue from, because casual fans would probably make up about 80% of boxing fans anyway. All right, I mean, boxing is not a big sport in Australia. Anyone says it does, it is a big sport, is kidding themselves. All right, when you can get 100,000 people to rock up to a boxing fight, right? Rock up to a fight each and every time there's a fight on, then boxing is big in this country. Boxing is a very, very small niche little sport in this country. I mean, like every year for the last, let's say, at least 50 years. Let's say, when did the AFL come into play? 1990. The NRL was 1995. So over the last 35 years, we've had two codes of football that consistently get AFL, the average crowd's probably about 65,000. NRL's probably not even half that, maybe 20,000. Right? When's the last time you saw 20,000 people rock up to a boxing match? The last time I saw 20,000 people rock up to a boxing match was Haney Kambosos #1, and that was 42,000. You can count how many times on one hand, how many times there's been 20,000 plus in this country. Jeff Fennick, Zuma Nelson #2, Green Mundine #1, maybe even Green Mundine #2, right? Kambosos versus Haney #1, Pacquiao versus Horn, 5. 5 times this country's got more than and way back in 1908 when Jack Johnson took on Tommy Burns, I think it was. I think there was like a shitload of people at that fight too. I think it might have been 100,000 people or something. Some ridiculous amount of. There was a lot of people back there. It was in Sydney. I think it was 1908 when Jack Johnson fought Tommy Burns. Yeah, but you count on one hand how many times you've seen Australian fans, more than 20,000 people at a boxing match. It doesn't happen. I mean, it's happened more frequently in the last decade, right? Remember, Pacquiao versus Horn was not even 10 years ago. So, yeah, in the last decade, it's really come along. But before that, you can count it on one hand. So, that's it for today, guys. I really want you guys to debate and discuss, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. What fan you think you are, and what do you think about the other fans? Because I know I'm a student of the game. I'm a fan of boxing. Right? I don't follow any particular boxer. I mean, if someone like Tim Z's fighting, yep, I'll watch. But I'm more than happy to go to the grassroots stuff, and have been, just to watch the young and up and comers, as much as I am to go to a fight with Heineken bases where there's 40,000 people in Marvel Stadium. So a bit of food for thought for today. As always, tackle the ball, wrestle, croc, harden yourselves the fuck up, and we'll see you again later.